the whole Christian faith
Well, correct.
is false.
But it also tells you something about Allah as well, is that if he really, just like in the Hadith, it says that he put someone, which was Judas, in the place of Jesus to make it appear as though Jesus was crucified.
It's Judas.
Yeah, well, they believe that Judas took the form of Jesus. Right.
I heard that it was Simon of Cyrene, you know?
Okay, maybe it is. I don't know. But it's someone takes the place either way.
Your guess is as good as mine.
And so if Allah is permitting that, then he just technically deceived 1.4 billion Christians into
So he's a
believing.
deceiver.
Well, yeah, right. But what you can take away from that is the Quran makes a claim. It's like atheists. Like they'll say, "Oh, the burden of proof is not on me to show that God exists because I don't believe God exists." Right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't negate the fact that they have a burden of proof to show God doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They still make a claim, right? And the same is true of Islam when they make a claim that Jesus was crucified or someone was made to appear like Jesus. They have a burden of proof to show that. Historically, from a philosophical point of view, and from prophecy, which the Quran proves none of. In fact, atheist Bart Ehrman, right? He says that the crucifixion is the most historically probable event that ever happened. It's the most recorded historical event that we ever have.
Yeah.
So it's, from a historical point of view, it's undeniable.
And that's from atheists and Christian and other believers.
Correct. Yeah. And then from a philosophical point of view, crucifixion makes sense because God can punish sin and be just, but also be loving, and he completes his full nature of just, loving, forgiving, without withholding anything.
Yeah.
And then from a prophecy side of things, is like Isaiah 9:6, Isaiah 7:14, and Isaiah 53, like all talk about how a man will come, he'll be pierced by his hands and feet for the transgressions, the sins of Israel. And so it's exactly what Jesus fulfills.
Yes, sir. Even I had a Muslim ask me a question that, because as Christians, we hold the belief that Jesus is God. And they said, well, if Jesus is God, then why did he scream, my God, why have you forsaken me? Okay.
Psalm 22.
Psalm 22.
Yes,
and that very same cry is prophetic in itself, proving that the crucifixion was prophesied.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how they don't understand these verses.
Yeah. Because the thing is, there's so many interlinks as well. Like when you look at the Quran, there's only, I think, 16 or 15,000 interlinks. With the Bible, it's 68,000 or 66 something thousand interlinks where you have prophecy being fulfilled. And the claim is something like 300 prophecies Jesus fulfills from the Old Testament.
Yep.
Incredible.
And let me read one more passage. This is Surah 5, verse 46.
I love this.
And Allah caused Jesus, son of Mary, to follow in their footsteps, confirming that which was revealed before him, and we bestowed him the Injil, which is the gospel. So the Quran confirms that Christ was given the gospel. But the understanding of the gospel, apparently it's a book that came from heaven. It was given
a revelation given
to Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm yet to understand exactly what they mean by that.
Yeah.
But the Quran says that we know Allah bestowed on him the Injil, wherein is guidance and light, confirming that which was revealed before it in the Torah, guidance and an admonition unto those who were of evil. So let the people of the gospel judge by that which Allah has revealed.
Yeah.
So according to the Quran, we are told to go into the gospel.
Yeah.
Okay. To judge whether Allah is telling us the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ian, can you read 1 Corinthians 1, verse 18? We can even read, can you open John 19? And because I wanna look at just read it out loud. Ian, 1 Corinthians 1:18.
1:18.
Chapter 1, verse 18.
You've definitely stumbled upon the most difficult argument for Muslims.
Yeah.
For the word of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the understanding of those who have understanding I will confound.
Yes, it's very clear. According to Paul, for the word of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing. So Paul says that the cross is foolishness. So the carnal person cannot understand the cross
Yeah.
Because even Paul says that to the Greek is foolishness, because the Greek they need wisdom.
Yeah.
And to the Jew, again,
Yeah.
still same thing.
Scripture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But yes, what is your response to this? Because
Long one.
John 18 records the crucifixion. Sorry, John 19.
Yeah.
See if you can read John 19 verse. Because I'm doing this for the Muslims who are watching. Because once I start streaming, maybe in the future, not this episode, I'm gonna start having conversations with them.
Yeah.
And they claim that the book of John, the gospel, the Injil, is true.
Yeah.
So John 19 records Jesus' last moments. And I'll read from 25, verse 25, John 19, verse 25. Now they stood by the cross, Jesus, his mother, and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. So these are eyewitnesses standing by the cross. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and his disciples whom he loved standing by, so this is John. So John was an eyewitness. So we're getting John writing what he saw with his own eyes. Now remember, Muhammad wasn't here. So I understand how Muslims can believe Muhammad over John, even though John was there physically present.
Yeah. Totally.
And this is what Jesus said to John, to his mother. And Jesus said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." And the Catholic, I use this against the Catholic, because the Catholics, obviously, they have this idea that, Jesus, Mary's in heaven, she can hear our prayers and all that stuff. And I use that to show them, look, the relationship between Christ and Mary ended at the cross. Because Christ saw her and said, "Look, woman, I'll give you John and go stay with him."
Yeah.
Now, some people assume that Joseph had already passed away and Mary was a widow.
Yeah.
So she had John to take care of her.
Yeah.
And then from that hour, that disciple took her to his own home. So John and Mary went to live together.
Yeah.
After this, Jesus, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scriptures may be fulfilled, he said, "I thirst." Now a vessel full of sour wine was sitting there, and they filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on hyssop, and put it in his mouth. So when Jesus had received the sour wine, he said, "It is finished." And bowing his head, he gave up his spirit. To me, when I read this, it's very clear that you had eyewitnesses. You had the women and you had John, because the Muslims said that, well, Peter and Matthew and all these guys were eyewitnesses of the crucifixion. True, they did run away, but we have one person who was an eyewitness. And we also have Mary, mother of Jesus, who was an eyewitness. And the account, the writings of Luke, yes, the book of Luke, it is an account of Mary's testimony, because Luke was a companion of Paul when Paul used to travel around preaching the gospel. And when Paul was arrested, Luke was a historian or a writer.
Yeah.
So he went to research the life of Jesus so that he can prove that Paul is not crazy or Paul is innocent.
Yeah.
So he went around interviewing all these people, especially Mary. So Luke's account is from an eyewitness who was Jesus's mom.
Yeah.
And who knows Jesus better than his mom? Well, nobody in this case.
Yeah.
So even the book of Luke can be traced back to Mary.
Yeah.
And then you have the book of Mark. Same thing. Mark account was from Peter's stories. Because John Mark, same thing. He was a companion of Paul traveling.
Yeah.
And then Paul sent him to go meet with the other disciples, Peter, so that they can continue their mission.
Yeah.
So Mark decided to write down what Peter was telling him. So same thing. Mark is also describing events that Peter witnessed with his own eyes, even though Mark wasn't there to witness the life of Jesus.
Totally.
So I would love to hear how Muslims get around this story, because these are historical facts.
Yeah. Well, the biggest and most obvious argument I say is the Bible is corrupt. They say,
okay, if you said the Bible is corrupt, then don't quote it to debunk me then.
Yeah.
They quote the Bible
Yeah.
to debunk Christianity.
Yeah.
Well, then if you know that's corrupt, then don't quote it.
Yeah.
And that's the argument also. I don't understand the argument as well, because in Surah 3,
That's it. Yeah. Well, that's where the whole dilemma starts.
Yeah, there's a dilemma.
Yeah, there is.
Because in Surah 3, verse 3,
Yeah,
the Quran confirms the Bible.
correct. Yeah.
So if the Quran confirms the Bible and the Bible is false, then the Quran is false.
Yeah,
Allah has revealed unto Muhammad the scripture with truth, confirming that which was revealed before it, even as he revealed the Torah and the Injil. So Allah revealed the Torah
Yeah.
and the gospel.
and he confirms it. Yeah.
So
You
how
have a dilemma that leaves the Quran false in every way possible. If the Quran affirms the Bible and the Bible is corrupt, the Quran affirms a corrupted book, making the Quran false. If the Bible is true, the Quran affirms a true book which contradicts it, making the Quran false. And the
100%.
dilemma stands, you can't get around it. There's no way to get around it. But the problem is that it always goes back to, well, what is the Injil? And I like how you talked about, well, we've got the authors of the Injil, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and we can confidently, historically say that they witnessed Jesus, or they were witnesses of the witnesses of Jesus, right? So that the problem is that Muslims will say, well, you actually don't know that that's the authors. You don't know when it was written or what time it was written, right? And they'll make this claim. Now, the thing about the Quran is that it doesn't tell you anything about the Injil. It tells you only two things. I'll get to that in a second. But the Injil, what it doesn't tell you is it doesn't tell you when it was written. It doesn't tell you who it was written by. It doesn't really give you any context as to what is written in the Injil, right? And so you ask a Muslim, well, okay, if you don't know who the Bible is written by, then tell me, if the Injil is not the Bible, then who was the Injil written by? Oh, I don't know. And I'll say, I'll give you the whole Quran, all the hadiths, tell me who it's written by. And they'll be like, oh, well, the Quran doesn't tell you who it's written by. Okay, how do you know it's not Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? Well,
Because I know.
yeah, because eyewitnesses. How do you know the Injil is not written by eyewitnesses? Well, I don't know. The Quran doesn't say anything about it, right? But what the Quran does tell you in Quran chapter 7, 157, it says that the Injil and the Gospel are around during the time of Muhammad, in the hands of the Christians and the Jews, right? And so it's this mysterious book around during the time of Muhammad in the hands of the Christians and the Jews. Now we know historically, we have our first complete Bible 300 years before Muhammad comes. But then you have saints like Saint John of Damascus, who's around during the time of Muhammad, and he writes about how Jesus is God. He writes about the Christian beliefs of the time, right? And so thing is that every historical point leads you to believe that the Bible was around during the time of Muhammad, and the Bible is what Muhammad references as the Injil. And so there's the dilemma is, okay, if the Bible we have today is corrupt, then so was the Injil at the time of Muhammad. So was the Bible at the time of Muhammad if it's corrupt, because it's the same Bible between now and then.
Well, the Quran does mention that Muhammad couldn't read or write.
Correct. Yeah.
So how did he come up with these stories?
Well, no, I mean, Muslims would say, no, it's a revelation from Allah. So it doesn't matter if you can read or write, right?
That is cult 101, though. Every cult
is,
starts
yeah,
like
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, yeah,
the revelation, a private one, and no one is around,
That's it.
and then you go out and start a religion.
Yeah. But have you heard about how Muhammad actually receives his revelation, or what?
Or in a
Happens.
cave with the angel Gabriel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. You should tell us.
So,
That
tell us the
story
story,
that
'cause
story is funny.
I'm learning slowly, because I've been getting DMs from Muslims
Yeah,
telling
yeah,
me,
yeah.
oh, actually, because I pulled up contradictions here, and they
Yeah.
tried to explain it from their understanding, and then they get into, well, the Arabic language is
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I'm like,
oh, no.
Mate.
dude, do you want to have a discussion, or do you want to get into language
Yeah, yeah.
differences and translations? Well, if there's different translations, tell me which one is the right translation so we can read that.
Totally.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, Arab, like, dude, just
It's not a good argument. It's not a good argument.
yeah, go ahead and tell us the story about Muhammad.
Yeah. So Muhammad was in the cave, right? And that's where he was encountered by a spirit, where they'll say it was the angel Gabriel. Doesn't match how angels encountered people in the Bible,
True.
because so it says that Muhammad was terrified. And in the Bible, people are scared when they meet angels, but then the angel would be, do not be afraid. Yeah, I'm not here to harm you. Muhammad was afraid to the point where he couldn't speak.
Yeah.
Yep. And the angel told him to give
Recite.
him something to read.
Yeah. And
Right.
read.
read, just read.
Read.
And then
And
Muhammad
can't
couldn't read.
Oh,
So he says, I can't read. The angel pushes him against the wall until he can't breathe and says,
Strangles
read.
him.
And starts strangling him.
Yeah.
He's terrified, right? And then at the end, the angel read it to him.
Yeah, so he ends up reading it.
Ends up reading it.
Yeah, after 3 times of being, choked.
Yep.
And he goes off to his
so the whole
wife.
faith is based off that story.
Essentially, yeah, but it gets
Sort of,
worse.
But it gets,
Yeah, it gets worse.
So after
Gets
that,
worse.
he leaves the place terrified. He's shook. He's afraid for his life. And he goes to his wife.
He thinks he's possessed.
Yeah, he thinks he's possessed. He goes to
Khadijah.
Khadijah, yeah.
And he tells her what happened. And he was, if I'm not wrong, he asked her to
Yeah, protect him.
protect him.
Yeah.
And she took him to her cousin, I think, or someone related to her
A
who
Christian
was
heretic, yeah.
a Christian heretic.
That's it.
And Muhammad told the story to this Christian heretic, and he said, "Oh no, this happened in the past. This happened to all the prophets in the past. You're a prophet. You've received a word from God." And this guy knew how to read and write, so he taught him how to read and write. And yeah, that was basically the origin of
Yeah.
the revelation
Except
of Islam.
the angel stopped appearing to Muhammad for some time and he would start doubting he was a prophet.
Yep.
And so he would try to throw himself off a cliff. And so he'd actually tried to commit suicide many times.
Yep.
But this angel would stop him from committing suicide.
Yep.
And
Every
so
time.
that's the origin of Islam.
And the Bible says that the devil disguised himself as an angel of light. So,
Yeah.
man, that's crazy.
Prophecy in the Bible is Galatians 1:8. It's like if we are an angel of heaven should preach another gospel to you, let them be accursed.
Yeah.
Like crazy. Makes you wonder.
Interesting. Now, let me read this passage for you guys. This is Surah 2, verse 62. Those who believe, and those who are Jews and Christians and Sabians, whoever believes in Allah and the last day and does right, surely their reward is with their Lord, and there shall be no fear come upon them, neither shall they grieve. So according to the Quran, Christians and Jews and Sabians can receive eternal life if they believe in Allah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is that true?
The narrative
Bes-
seems to change a lot.
because that is confusing, because a Christian is someone who believes that Jesus is the Son of God.
Yeah.
So in order to believe in Allah, you must reject that.
Yeah.
So therefore, you're no longer a Christian by definition.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, in Surah 385, okay, this is where it gets tricky when I'm studying the Quran. In Surah 385, yes, the Quran says the complete opposite of what it just said there. And this is what it says in 85. And those who seek as a religion other than the surrender to Allah, Islam, it will be not accepted from him, and he will be a loser in the afterlife.
Yeah.
So only Muslims will be accepted, but the previous
Yeah.
passage said that Christians and Jews will be accepted.
Yeah.
Do you understand what that means? If you had someone to
Totally.
bring up that argument,
Nowadays, that argument. They say a Muslim is just someone who submits to Allah. And that's the broadest definition they'll give. And then I'll say to them, okay, well, if I submit to the rock and I call this cup my Allah, and I submit to it and I bow down and worship, am I a Muslim? They're like, no, you have to submit to Allah, the one God of the universe. Okay, if my one God of the universe is Jesus, am I submitting to Allah? Like, no. Okay, so what you're describing is I have to submit to your version of Allah, which is the one that Muhammad preached. And that obviously is not the God I accept. So therefore, I'm not a Muslim, and nor was Jesus, because he submitted to the Father. And Allah in the Quran, you'll find, is not a father to anyone in any sense. And it's actually a sin to call him a father,
Mm.
right? But it says in the Quran, none should come to Allah except as a slave. So that's. But I think I also find another contradiction with that as well is where it says the Christians and the Jews, if they believe in the last day and Allah, they'll go to heaven. But I like where it says here in Sahih Muslim 2767d, right? I talked about this before. It says, there would come people amongst the Muslims on the day of resurrection with as heavy sins as a mountain, and Allah would forgive them, and he would place in their stead the Jews and the Christians. And so meaning the Jews and the Christians would go to hell in place of where the Muslims should have gone. Muslims should have gone to hell, but the Christians take their spot, right? And so it's a bit of the narrative seems to change.
Okay, let
Yeah.
me pull up